right, welcome to another edition of SJHL Weekly. It is Monday, March 11th, which, guys, means that this is the last regular season episode of this show. It's crazy. We're already here. This is the last week of the season. The playoffs are right around the corner. We will have a special episode for the playoffs next week, but more on that later. We have a lot to get to, so let's talk about what's coming up on the show today. We're going to be joined by head coach and general manager of the Kindersley Klippers, Clayton Jardine. He's a nominee for Coach of the Year as well this year, which is exciting, so we'll have a lot to talk about with him. Plus Players of the Week, as we always do, of course, later in segment number 3 of the show after we talk to Clayton. And a little fun, we're going to do an all underrated team. Myself, Rory, and Neugebauer all have our own teams that we're going to show you guys and just give a little bit of love to some players around the league who maybe don't get as much love as some of the other guys around the league. So I think that's going to be a ton of fun. But first, of course, thank you to our sponsors and all of our broadcasts. As you can see over my which shoulder? Left shoulder, UPL, Open Egg, of course. UPL sponsors all of our broadcasts, including this one, SJHL Insider, our playoff preview show, and all the other stuff that we do throughout the season. So thank you to UPL. Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Capital Automall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, SGEU, and SGI. All the letters are sponsors of the show. So thank you to everybody. Again, as we say all the time, without them, these lights wouldn't be on. So it would be a much darker show. Let's welcome Jamie and Rory to the show, or Rory and Jamie, I should say. Guys, you finally got back on the air, Rory. For you didn't have many games before this past weekend. Jamie, I'll get to you in a second. Rory, first, how was your weekend getting back on the airwaves?
It was good. 3 games throughout the week after an 11-day break. Always good to get back in. Always good to have that intensity and excitement. You can kind of feel it around every city now in the SJHL, gearing up towards the playoffs. But now we know 3 teams are locked in and going to be a tight race for who finishes 3rd and 4th. Going to be an even tighter race for who finishes 6th, 7th, and 8th. So exciting times here in the final week. Yeah,
2 or 3 games left for pretty much everybody in the league. 1 for some, but Jamie, a busy weekend for you as well. Only the 1 game on the weekend for you specifically, but busy weekend nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 2 kids, it's always busy. I did have, just like Rory, I had 3 and 4 to call during the week as well. 2 games that could have gone either way between Notre Dame and Weyburn, and then in Estevan, and the Wilcox game that the Melville Millionaires played. They were just terrific. The Mills were flying. They were just flying lately. So they was fun. They were fun to watch just from an interested observer. But yeah, the weekend's still busy, as you know, Clark. It's never a dull moment with young kids. A little story for the folks out there. Miriam gives me a big hug Saturday morning after I get back from the road trip from Estevan. I think I told Rory about this. She gave me a big hug. She leaned in and then she said, "Daddy, you smell terrible." So I went and I took a shower, but she's very honest, and I appreciate that. But boys, we're going to be honest about the playoff picture, the races. We got to get into it. A lot of fun, though. I love this time of the year.
Yeah, kids say the darndest things. But sometimes that honest feedback doesn't hurt. But let's get into that weekend recap now and look at some of the scores. So we'll start with Friday. 5 games Friday night. As you can see, Melville tripled up Weyburn 3-1. Estevan did sneak by the Notre Dame Hounds and they clinched their playoff spot with that win on Friday. Flin Flon beat Laurent 6-4. Melfort piled up a couple of goals on Nipawin 7-2. And Humboldt, in the first game of the home-and-home series, beat Battleford 6-4. And on Saturday, a couple of the second half of the home-and-home series, Melville, what a game that one was, 1-0 over Weyburn. And that was just a very tight affair, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go here. Battleford's got their revenge on Humboldt 7-4, snuck back into 3rd place in the standings, and we'll get into that because that battle is raging on and will not be done for a couple more days. And then on Sunday, there was a couple more games. Flin Flon doubled up Nipawin 6-3, and Melfort got past Laurent 3-1 as they locked up 2nd place in the SJHL standings. So a lot of things kind of slowly crumbling down, and we're getting these lock-ins and these clinches, and things are coming together. But we have to start, I think, with the Battlefords and Humboldt home-and-home series. That one, to me, with 3rd place getting jostled back and forth, Rory. And you were back on the airwaves again like we talked about. What did you see in these 2 games starting with Friday night.
I know when we talked last week when I was stuck at home with the snowstorm, I said it's going to be a great weekend set, and we're most likely going to have some more clarity on who finishes third. Well,
nope.
The weekend passed and we have absolutely zero more clarity. What we do know is that Humboldt has one game more than the Battlefords North Stars, so they technically do control their destiny for third place. This weekend, though, to me, was a home-and-home series that was all about capitalizing on your chances. It was the story of the weekend set for me. Humboldt did a better job of that in Game 1. Battleford's much better job of it in Game 2. 21 combined goals between two of the highest scoring teams in the SJHL. There was comeback efforts on both nights after both teams went up 5-1 for the 5-1 on both sides, actually. 5-0 at one point for the Battlefords North Stars on Saturday. But Battlefords finally snaps their 6-game losing streak. You can't give this team's power plays, especially early in the game. They're way too talented. And they're one of the best teams when playing with a lead. So, 2 regulation losses when scoring the first goal. They actually haven't done that a lot in their 6-game stretch, which was one of the biggest things. They didn't score first. No regulation losses when leading after the first. 1 regulation loss when leading after the second. And Humboldt, not enough 5-on-5 action on Saturday. And I'll die on this sword that I do think they're the best 5-on-5 team in the SJHL. But their penalty kill right now is a glaring concern, man. 27 power play goals against in their last 95 times shorthanded over an 18-game stretch, 71.5%. If you go back, I know it's a smaller sample size, but if you go back to a full season, there hasn't been a power play that low over the course of a 50-game schedule since the website keeps track of 2010. 71.5 in their last 18 games. They got to address the power play. And, the numbers with their win and losses are completely correlated to that. When their times shorthanded are 4 or less over that 18-game stretch, 6-0-1. When it's 4 or more, 4-7.
Well, there you go. And, take it from the Battlefords perspective. We've been talking about this for a while, I think, with them fellas, trying to outscore their problems. You mentioned it, getting behind early in games, not showing up on time. Last year, how many times did you call a game, Rory? I called the game against Battlefords. It felt like it was an avalanche from the beginning, from the drop of the puck, line after line, wave after wave. They're trying to outscore their problems. I thought about it a little bit early in the year. They're 5-6. Maybe they bring in Kean Bell, comes in to save the day when they need somebody to have a big night. Kean Bell has a big night, and there he did it again. Good for him. And that's the thing about Kean Bell is that we don't talk about enough. He's so consistent. When the Stars need him to be Kean Bell, he throws on his cape. He said, "Okay, today's the day." And that's not an easy pressure to handle. That's a pressure that Braden Klamosko said nobody on the team wanted to handle early in the year. And good job to do it. No, not too many people go into the Elgar Peterson Arena and put up 5 points, at all this year or any year under Scott Parney. Really, they're such a hard team to beat in that arena. So kudos to the Stars, but there's still some head scratching things going on to me. In Battlefords, Braden Klamosko's been there. He's done that. He's worn the T-shirt. They won the championship. They went to the Centennial. So am I overly concerned about the Stars? And maybe you guys disagree. But I'm concerned with the pattern. And I know that Klamosko and Chile are working on it. They're trying to figure it out. But they gotta start playing playoff hockey now and not wait.
I mean, they won one of those games, right, in Humboldt, but at the end of the day, they're still having to score 5 goals or more to win a game, right? Yeah. They allowed 6 in Game 1 and 4 in Game 2. So, they capitalized on their chances in Game 2, a little bit less in Game 1 until that final 9-minute last effort, which was exciting hockey, I'll tell you that. Yeah. Humboldt was in clear panic mode when Battlefords was coming back, but you're right. You'd like to see them tighten up a bit and play some playoff hockey. It was a bit more of that on Saturday as they led 5-0, and then, Humboldt had that comeback effort. But, they're having to score 5 or more right now to win hockey games, which is tough in the playoffs.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. But with that in mind, before we get to the next series, let's look at the highlight of the week for Tourism Saskatchewan. We're going back a couple of days before these games. Patrick Lanthier of the Humboldt Broncos against the Estevan Bruins.
Puck on the right wing, Lanthier throws across the crease. No one's home, Van Blaircom, another one towards the net. Lanthier trying to work it, shot, scores! What an effort for Pat Lanthier down on his belly. And gets it past Jackson Miller for the game-tying goal. Oh, baby, Pat Lanthier, what a goal. It's 1-1.
A decent goal, and even better.
Thank you, pal. Appreciate
that. Just trying to get in everybody's good books still. But let's get back to the ice now again. Weyburn and Melville had a really, really important home-and-home series, Neugsy. And we saw Melville take both of those as they continue their hot streak at the perfect time of year for going into the playoffs and cementing their spot in 5th place in the league. We know that now. So these two games in this series, what did you see from these games?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you contrast the top of the standings and the bottom of the standings right now a little bit. You see the Flin Flons and the Battlefords. Their coaches are begging their star-laden teams, play playoff hockey, figure it out now. Well, the bottom of the standings, those teams are playing playoff hockey. Yeah. Weyburn and Melville, folks, look, this was a hockey purists series. These two teams were going hard at it. There were not a lot of good scoring chances in either game, really, for either team. You know, obviously I saw Doug Johnson's team walk over Notre Dame in Wilcox, and that game could have been 15-1. Melville, if it wasn't for some great goaltending from Spencer Borsos and Johan Tremblay cap. But they're playing great hockey. They're not, ego-driven. They're not coming out slow. They're coming out fast. They've won, I think, 9 in a row or 6 in a row, pardon me, for Melville. Will Dyke, guys, he has given up 2 goals.
That's crazy.
In 300 minutes. 300 minutes. And yes, you could say, system, the team plays good in front of him, and that is absolutely the case. But they are not giving up those home plate opportunities. Their D-men are really pushing guys out from the blue paint area, from that home plate area. And the thing about the Melville Millionaires, guys, is maybe they don't have, superstars all over the lineup, but they have a lot of guys who are clinical when they're given the opportunity. Their shot percentages are very high. You think about a Luke Beadall, you think about a guy like Joel Maben, Caden Drury. When these guys get opportunities, Bradley Bannock, they don't miss. Obviously, Bannock had the 4-goal game against Notre Dame. But when they get a big opportunity, they very rarely miss, obviously forcing Daza Mitchell into a big save there. But the thing, too, is, the last thing I'll say is this Melville team has been playing playoff hockey really since the beginning of the year. They don't care about style points.
Nope.
And it's been fun to watch from a kind of purist standpoint.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to the Melville Millionaires, right? Worst to first. You don't often see that. Last place in the division, last place in the league, and now wins the Viterra division after a back-to-back weekend set. So huge congratulations to everyone in Melville that put that together. 16-9-1 since the holiday break.
Wow.
That winning percentage is, among the tops of the league for the Melville Millionaires. So they've been doing it for a while. You talked about William Dyke, right? This guy has more shutouts than he does goals against in his last 5 games.
Crazy.
He's got 3 shutouts and 2 goals against. It's absolutely crazy. But to me, you kind of hinted on it, it's not just a Will Dyke story because Melville is playing so good in front of him. 24.8 shots against over their last 5 games. Under 25. Like, that's not a ton at all. In fact, the best in the league, the average is 29.8. That's the Melfort Mustangs. And Melville, over the last handful of games, 24.8 shots. So both these teams playing playoff hockey. I absolutely love it. And Weyburn as well. Give them credit for how defensively sound they've been. First half of the year, this is a team that you could say, they lay an egg, they let in 8, right? They let in 6. They're prone to giving up shots. They're prone to giving up goals, prone to taking penalties. They're buckling all that down. They haven't allowed more than 3 goals in their last 5 games. So these are tough outs for any of those top 4 teams. We don't know who it'll be yet. We know who finishes 4th will play Melville. As they've locked up 5th. But I love the weekend set between these 2 teams, Viterra division on the line, and playing playoff hockey.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. What does it mean to win a division? Maybe in the Melville community, it means more, obviously, given the lack of success they've had lately, but they've also clinched the Viterra division. So now we know 2 of the 3 division champions, obviously. Sherwood division was locked up by Flin Flon a while ago. And now we've got the Viterra, the Nutrients still up for grabs, obviously, between Battlefords and Humboldt. And the last thing I'll say about the series, especially the Saturday game, the Weyburn Red Wings had 4 chances in front of in the home plate area, good sort of 0.1 expected goal plus chances. 4. Usually you are kind of hoping for an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If you're getting around 18, 19, you're kind of dominating. 4 boys.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Slow.
But that being said, you're right, Rory. They played good hockey, and they needed a Colby Bull goal with 1:35 to go in the game to break the deadlock. I thought it was going to be a 0-0, maybe shootout game. It was kind of a game where neither team really could break the other one down. But both goalies were good, Angelo Zoll and Dyke, obviously. And Colby Bull with that late winner was pretty dramatic stuff. So there you go.
That's only happened once this year, too. a game going 0-0 into
0-0.
overtime.
Yeah.
It featured the Weyburn Red Wings.
There you go.
York and Terriers first weekend of the year.
I remember seeing Nugsy's recap article afterwards, and I was like, I felt so bad for Angelo Zoll because I'm like, oh man, they both deserved a shutout in that one, and he just didn't quite get it. But you mentioned Melville. I think it's their first time since 2015 clinching the division, and that was when I was working in the league, back in the with my Estevan Bruins days back in the day. So that's a flash from the past. But also all their players playing so well. You see Clayton Jardine almost a point per game this year, Luke Beadle almost a point per game this year, Jaden Iogan almost a point per game. And then you mentioned all the other names: Colby Ball, Bradley Bannock, Cole Keane, Joel Maben, Liam Cox-Smith, even Flynn Maxey. They're getting production by committee, and like you said, kind of whoever takes the lead that night is the reason they're winning games. So it's really good to see, and really exciting for that entire community of Melville, by the way, who from all accounts are loving everything that they're seeing from the team this year. But let's move on to Melfort, the other Mel in the league. The Melfort Mustangs locked up second place in the standings. They beat L'Orange on Sunday night. So Rory, I'll come back to you for this one. I guess just like, let's talk about Melfort right now. Like, we talked about how their health has been an issue for most of the year, but they're finally maybe getting some guys trickling back into the lineup slowly as the playoffs approach, and they're going to need it. But they have been playing so well lately. Yeah,
there's a big smile on the face of Trevor Blevins, the face of Ty Scherger, and all the Melfort Mustangs fans. That was the first time, I think, in a while, right, that they have had everyone in. Zach Summers, Logan Belton, Ryan Dugay, Aiden Hutchinson, Chase Freetmore, Leith Olafson. Everyone was playing on that Sunday game. They're healthy now before the playoffs. They've won 9 games in a row. They're undefeated since February 14th. It's going to be a month now undefeated for the Melfort Mustangs. They're right there with the Flin Flon Bombers of, I think, the best chance to win an SJHL championship. Melfort is now in that picture. I don't think there's much separation just based off the way they've been playing. Clay Sleva, again, we talk about him every week, but he's got the longest active goal streak right now, 6 games in a row. Clay Sleva's found the back of the net, up to 25 goals on the year. This team is as deep and experienced as any, and they're playing the perfect way at the right time going into the playoffs with just 2 games or 1 game remaining for Melfort.
And, call me a big softy, and that's fair enough. But I thought it was
Jamie, you are a big softy.
Big softy. I thought it was very cute that L'Orange's opening goal was Max Henderson in a race with Nolan Henderson, the twin brothers in a race, and Max wins it and scores. So I'm sure the Henderson family will be exploding about that goal. And so, L'Orange, they've played hard, even though they're been out of the playoff picture for a bit here. But, you're right. Talk about the team at the top right now that is playing the most playoff hockey style, for 3 whole periods, 60 minutes. It's got to be the Melfort Mustangs. I think that's the team that a lot of people are really afraid of right now. Obviously, you can't count out the Flin Flon Bombers with their weapons, but who's playing the best hockey in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League right now? It has to be the Melfort Mustangs, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the bottom line because Nugsy said so. Another name you didn't mention, Rory, who came back this past weekend and saw some action on the ice, David Ryu, who hasn't been in the lineup since, and I just had it up, but I closed it. He hasn't played a game since November.
Yeah, that's wild.
And he is now played a game now in March.
Ryu's an impact piece, man.
Huge.
That's a guy that you slot in, top 6, bottom 6, wherever you want him. Ryu's talented.
Yeah.
So I didn't even, when I looked at the roster and said everyone's back, I totally overshadowed Ryu. He hasn't played since November, but he's a heck of a player. 14
points in 20 games this year. Big. He's got size, and he just kind of fits that middle 6 of Melfort so well. But.
And 31 wins for James Venn now as well. I mean, that kid plays every night. He's played 135 more minutes than the second most played goalie in the league. Than Topher Chirko there in L'Orange. He's so in shape. I think that's the thing that Trevor Blevins talks about when you ask him about it. He's a kid that doesn't mind those minutes. He wants those minutes, and he's ran with it. Good for him.
Well, I mean, we'll update the fantasy scores. Yeah. It's a while. Well, no, I don't know why you're cheering. You're not in the lead yet. But James Vanna is like
fantasy monster.
Fantasy monster for Nugsy here, pulling him back. Really. Exciting finish we're going to have. We'll fill you into the final segment on that. But James Vann's an absolute monster.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And like we're doing later in the show, we're doing our all underrated teams. Is it possible that James Venn, as many accolades as we've given him this year, and that we talk about him all the time, that he's also underrated?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's going to be some people getting yelled at from the underrated thing for sure. But
I didn't pick James Venn as underrated.
No,
I think we talk about him enough. He's a heck of a goalie.
He's a heck of a goalie. So last thing before we get to kind of maybe look at the standings games and also look at maybe some upcoming playoff discussions. Estevan and Notre Dame, Friday night, Jamie, Estevan clinched their playoff spot, so they finally got that X beside their name. But they barely squeaked by Notre Dame. So what can you tell me about that game on Friday, and then just Estevan in general?
Yeah, I mean, obviously their bench was a little shorter, given the shenanigans, we'll call them, up in Flin Flon. They're waiting for Keegan Little to come back from his suspension. Alex Papasparopoulos should be back. I understand in that series against Weyburn, which should be a doozy, a humdinger, as they say. Look, you know what? The Estevan Bruins, I think it's the kind of the way that the Bruins have been like a lot lately, is they can play some great hockey, and they're a team that can beat anybody. They're also a team that can really fall asleep. And when they fall asleep, they really fall asleep. The Hounds scored 3 goals in a row, including, spoiler alert, my top underrated D-man probably in Liam Hunks scoring that beautiful goal. He's so good. Such a great kid, too. Really, really happy to see him have the year that he's having. But, yeah, I think when the Bruins started to play, especially in the third period, you could see how good they were. I know Jason Tatarnic and I talked, after the game as well, and he talked about how his team got a real tongue lashing in the second intermission after they gave up 3 straight to the Hounds. The Hounds didn't quit. It was a pretty even game. Really could have gone either way. But when the Bruins play their game, play the playoff hockey, here's the beautiful goal there that we thought maybe could have unseated Lanthier's highlight of the week there. Carson Bayless has been great since he committed. There you go, little slow-mo right after.
Slow-mo, yeah.
There you go, deked out Jackson Miller, who's played a lot of hockey lately too, by the way, after the injury to Cam Hrdlicka. But certainly, the Estevan Bruins, when they play their game, when they're fully staffed, when they get everybody back, again, they talk about people that won't be any fun to play against. We saw a glimpse. We've seen so many glimpses of what they could be. Jason Stark's got to find a way. The leadership of that team's got to find a way to, to play consistently, to start on time, to play that style. Because when they do, they can beat anybody. We saw that in Whitney Forum, and I'm sure Jason Tarnick's still trying to figure that out too. But yeah, good win for the Bruins here.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the standings here now, gentlemen, in the back, if you don't mind. This is as it sits today. As you can see, the Y beside the Melville Millionaires, as they have now clinched the Viterra division. And 6-8 right now is not yet settled. There is 1 point between those 3 teams. 3 and 4, not yet settled. Melfort has kind of locked up that second spot. And Flin Flon, of course, we talked about, has locked up that first spot. They did that a while back. But the 8 teams are set. Yeah. We have some, we'll talk about the playoffs here now as we kind of wrap up this segment. But guys, obviously this isn't how it's going to be, but as of right now, Flin Flon would play Kindersley, Melfort, Estevan, Battleford's Weyburn, which I still think would be a really great first-round series after what happened last year in the playoffs, and Humboldt, Melville. But that's not necessarily how it's going to end. So, Rory, I'll start with you. Dream scenario playoff matchups. What would you change, or what would you keep the same?
One big glaring change, I think everyone wants that, is the Kindersley Klippers leapfrogging the Estevan Bruins to set up a Flin Flon Estevan series in the opening round. Like, we know the rivalry. We know how good the hockey games have been just recently, a couple weeks ago. But that's my big one. I know it's going to be hard for Kindersley to go into 6th. Humboldt to flip into 3rd, but the Broncos and the Clippers have played some really exciting hockey, and in the 6-game series, it's knotted up 3 games apiece with Kindersley winning the last 2, so that's going to be really good hockey, and then that would also pit a rematch, I believe. No, it wouldn't. Battleford would be 4th. They'd play Melville, which is a good series. Melville's actually been really, really good against the Battleford's North Stars.
They've been good against all top 4 teams this year.
Melville's 3-1 against the Battleford's North Stars. So really, I have one, and that'd be Estevan and Flin Flon. That's my dream matchup. But again, if you get a division rivalry between Kindersley and Humboldt, then you'll have Weyburn, Melfort, and Battleford's Melville. That's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah. Nugsy, what would yours be?
Yeah,
kind of the same thing.
Like I've watched that Humboldt Melville series so tightly all year, and it's been so interesting to watch. It's 2 teams that play heavy hockey, 5-on-5 hockey, kind of the hockey purist series. And I know that's the way it looks. It's set up right now. It could certainly happen. Obviously, Humboldt has 2 against Flin Flon to end the year, and we'll see, if Mike Reagan wants to rest guys and take a look at guys, or if he wants to ramp up. We'll be very interested to see what Mike wants to do. I know the Bombers have already matched their season record for wins in a season back from 1985. 44 wins. Congratulations to the Bombers. What a great accomplishment of consistency. So we'll see, what Mike Reagan does there in that series against Humboldt. But I'd really like to see Melville and Humboldt just sort of from a hockey purist series, because right now, to me, that's a coin flip.
Which one do you think is a better storyline here for the Weyburn Red Wings? To go up against the Battleford's North Stars in a rematch of last year. Obviously, Weyburn won the first game. Battleford's then won every other game in the playoffs, never lost after that one. Or Weyburn going up against Melfort, and it's Dazza Mitchell against James Venn.
Oh, man.
I think, I can tell you that, if I were Weyburn, and you could take this personally as bulletin board material if you want, but I'd be like, please be Battleford's.
You're hoping Battleford's.
Because Melfort has been a big problem for everybody, but also Weyburn lately. I mean, Weyburn's had that really long win streak snapped by Melville. The only team to beat them over that span was a shootout loss at home to Melfort. So Melfort's given Weyburn trouble. So, I'm sure that Weyburn is kind of like, if you ask Cody Mapes, he's not going to be like, oh yeah, well, we want this team or that team. But really, he has to think now that they match up probably better against Battleford.
If you look at, Weyburn against the top four, they've struggled against everyone. 1-3 against Battleford, 0-4 against Flin Flon, 0-4-1, I should say. Against Melfort, 0-2, 0-2, and against Humboldt, 1-3. Yeah. So losing record against all four of those teams. Pick your poison, Weyburn. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. But so let's call up the rest of the season sort of schedule that we have.
Remaining opponents,
The remaining opponents graphic that we have.
Yeah, the one thing I will say before that comes up is I want to see Weyburn and Battleford so bad just because of what happened last year, and I was at a couple of those games in Weyburn, and man, there was some animosity there, and I know there's enough carryover from the rosters from last year that I just think that would be great. Also, if Kindersley plays Flin Flon, how great would it be, and I don't mean to say anything, Flin Flon, sorry, Mike Reagan, but how great would it be if Brock Mueller just went off and just took over and won a couple games for his
There was that fight earlier the year between Marquardt and Falk, too.
Oh, yes,
so
right.
Some animosity between
That's a good
those
point.
two.
Kindersley Flin Flon's still good. That's a good one, too.
Well, I think that's the beauty thing about the SJ is that there's no blase series any of them. We won't have that big of a challenge finding storylines.
No, Will Dyke takes on his former team, the Humboldt Broncos. There's a lot of stuff. Yes, that one. Yes, if we could bring that one up. This one here. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. We had a bunch of names for this graphic, so the guys in the back were like, which one? Because we called it 6 different things. But so as of right now, the ones that are locked in, as we can see, Flin Flon in 1, Melville in 5, Melfort in 2. The rest are still up for grabs in the battle for those spots, as you can see on the right. Battleford has 2 games remaining, both against Kindersley. Humboldt has 3 games remaining, Notre Dame, Flin Flon. Flin Flon, say that 10 times fast. Weyburn has 3 games, it's Notre Dame, and then 2 against Estevan. Estevan obviously plays Weyburn twice, and Kindersley plays Battleford's twice. So a lot of back-to-backs on the last weekend of the season, as always happens. But they just happen to be really good ones, by the way. All the back-to-backs at the end of the season are really good ones. So I don't know, where do you want to start with this one? Nugsy, Rory, you want to start with this one?
I mean, the one thing I'm kind of looking at here, it's going to be tough for Kindersley to get into 6 if they're worried about not playing either Flin Flon or Melfort, because the 2 teams there play each other. So what Kindersley's going to need in order to get into 6th is Estevan and Weyburn to split their 2 games with no overtime games, and then Kindersley to win both against the Battleford's North Stars. That's the only way Kindersley can get into 6th place to get out of the matchup against either Melfort or Flin Flon. So looking likely Kindersley will finish 7th or 8th.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I can pull from it.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for them to get much higher than that, like you said. Even if they have a tough, just their own fate that they have to decide. They have a tough one on their own. They got to win against Battleford's right now, as they, like you guys talked about.
And also Battleford still matters because they want 3rd, right? They want to get as high as possible.
Yeah. And as I said before, the thing I'm very interested to see is A, how hard are the Flin Flon Bombers playing against the Humboldt Broncos, and B, what roster is Flin Flon putting out? Because obviously in this world there's no gimmies, nobody's gifting anybody anything. Really, obviously the Bombers and Mike Reagan, they have a high standard. They're not going to gift Humboldt wins, but human nature being what it is, it'll be interesting. Whereas Battleford's is playing a Kindersley team that A, has beaten them, and B, Battleford's is not in great form right now, and C, both those teams are playing for something. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I don't know.
The only people who don't want to see Flin Flon Estevan, by the way, kind of side note, the bus drivers.
The bus drivers. Well, and the people paying for the bus drivers.
That's the only people. Nugsy, it's Nugs and Notes time. What do you got for us? Because I know you have a few things this week.
Yeah, so I'll try to be pretty quick about it. Thanks for your time, everybody out there. A couple commitments. Leighton Sheeran of Larange to go home, in fact. He's from Langley. BC to play at Trinity Western U Sports.
Yes.
A really underrated kid, I think. 12 points in 16 games. May or may not be on Nugsy's underrated team as well. Really good face-off guy. So, he's had a good year when he's been healthy, which has not been enough for Laurent, I'm sure. Weyburn's Colin Doherty just kind of before the show announced breaking news pretty much. SUNY Geneseo D3 in the SUNYAC conference there in New York State got him at the deadline from the North American League. Big D man. So congratulations to Leighton Sheeran and Colin Doherty on their commitments, Direct West commitments, I should say. Gotta get the sponsors in there. The Saskatchewan U18 semifinals are set. Big upset, pretty big upset. The Tisdale Trojans upsetting the Warman Wildcats in the first round, especially after Warman had won games 1 and 2, 7-1 both games, and Tisdale rallied to win 3 in a row as the 6th seed. So the Blazers of Saskatoon will take on Tisdale in the semis, and then the Pats Canadians will take on the Swift Current Legionnaires. The Swift Current Legionnaires were down 2-0 to Prince Albert in the first round, actually, and rallied, though those were close games. Warman destroyed Tisdale in those first 2 games, and a lot of people thought Warman was going to maybe win this whole league, and then they lost in the first round. So beware in the SJ too, the same kind of thing. You got to be, nothing is for sure in this league in Saskatchewan anywhere. Fantasy update, Rory.
Here it comes.
Teasing it.
Yeah.
So Rory was ahead for a while.
And hey, by the way, Jeremy is watching right now, so we got to give him an update. He gave me a compliment on your jacket.
He gave you a compliment on the jacket. Jeremy's a very
Is that why you guys were laughing at? I was like, what are you laughing at?
Yeah. I wasn't not laughing at
That's
you.
a stylish man out there in British Columbia too. Fantasy update. So Rory and I are tied exactly at 479 points. Believe it or not, way deep in the season. We did the draft before the regular season, or right at the beginning of the regular season.
It was shortly in because a couple guys had played games already.
A couple guys had played games. So we're exactly tied somehow.
That's crazy.
At 479.
That's crazy.
McGart there is 20 points behind.
That's not too bad.
And Jeremy, we'll just leave it at that. Rory's big 3 are Alexi Silvestri, Flin Flon, Noah Hula, Flin Flon, and Logan Linklater. Mine are Justin Lees, James Venner, you talked about, has been a monster.
Yeah. 72 points.
72 points.
For the goalie.
And 6 assists.
Yeah.
He's got 6 assists. A lot of guys don't even have 6 assists who are skaters. And Cage Newens. McGark over there has Aiden Hutchinson, who's obviously been a monster the last little bit. MVB, who's been good all year. And Keegan Little.
Big fan.
And Jay Corgie's big 3 are Vaucler from Flin Flon, Buchert from Larange, and Clay Sleva, which was a terrific pickup, especially since his deal. My fantasy team is like me, it's gone.
Yeah.
There you go. It's off to British Columbia. And the last thing I'll say is, because there might be some confusion, and we're going to clear it up, the awards for the Players of the Year will be announced on March the 20th on our playoff preview show. So I know it's a Wednesday. I know that's confusing, but it's Wednesday, March the 20th is when the awards will be announced. We'll have it all up on the social medias. You can go on sjhl.ca and find the nominees that Clark and I painstakingly and the squad put together. So check that out, March the 20th.
So just to confirm, no show next Monday.
Right.
Moved to Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
So the next week at a glance sort of our broadcasting schedule, it's going to be in SJHL Insider on Thursday, no show Monday. The big show on Wednesday that's going to kind of take over the whole week, and then no Insider next week. And then we'll resume all of our broadcasting for playoffs. It'll be Mondays and Thursdays again. Mondays will be our big kind of week in advance shows. Thursday will be the quick little recap shows before the weekend. So
playoff preview show is always fun.
Yes.
News and notes.
Yeah. Yes. Boom. There we go. News and notes. We're going to take a break because when we come back, we're going to be joined by Clayton Jardine of the Kindersley Klippers, head coach and GM. Can't wait to chat with him. So stay tuned until after these messages.
It's the 2023 model clearout at Capital GMC. Drum roll, please. 0% financing is back. For a limited time, finance rates are as low as 0% on select new 2023 GMC Sierras. CapitalGMC.ca.
Connecting with customers can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. At Direct West, we have the marketing tools and expertise to help introduce your business to the masses and help it grow. Connect with more customers. Direct West.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SJHL wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
All right, welcome back inside the SJHL Weekly studios. I'm joined beside me by Rory McGouran and Jamie Neugebauer, and we're going to be joined now on the video chat line by Kindersley Klippers Head Coach and General Manager Clayton Jardine. Clayton, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here with us today.
Looking good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to, on their behalf, also say thank you. We appreciate that. But, Clayton, I know the positioning still has to be determined, but you guys have clinched a playoff spot. So just generally right now, how are the vibes around Kindersley leading into the last week of the regular season?
Yeah, it's exciting to be back in the playoffs, obviously, just for the whole organization and community of Kindersley. So it's something that got us pretty excited there on Friday night. Had a few messages back and forth with everyone, and now the fun really starts. What you look forward to, but also the work that needs to be put in here for the last couple of weeks before it actually happens.
So Clayton, the last time you guys made the playoffs, you were also the head coach in 2019. My biggest question, I guess, for that is between these two teams. I know when in 2019 you guys finished fourth, and this year you're in the bottom half of the top 8 teams, but what is the biggest difference between these two teams in your mind going into the last week of the regular season here?
There's a lot. There's a lot of similarities. I like the way Cody Jamin's played the last month or so. Is it's hard to really top Justin Close being back-to-back goalie of the year. So
pretty good guy, pretty good player.
but he's doing his best, and it's something we're very thankful for him playing that way. And we were very deep up front 5 years ago, and I think we do have the depth up front as well. But that was a special group when it came to the forwards, and I think this year with the changes we've made on the back end, I like our back end a little more. I think that was kind of the weakness of our team 5 years ago. Trying to shut down Albrecht and Ball and Zettner, that line was pretty tough, and that was kind of the demise of our team. So overall, I think we have a little bit more depth this year, and that's what I'm excited about.
So, I mean, what you could do is you could fudge Tyler Trapto's birth certificate, because I know where to find him, by the way, if I can give you that information. And Justin Close, you could just kidnap him, and then boom, you're ready to go. But in all seriousness, obviously you still got lots of tough players to shut down, but that not easier, but it's really helped, obviously, to have, for Cody Jamin and for everybody, to have, a bit more of a veteran-laden decor. Obviously, you make that move for Simon Diaz around the trade deadline there from Fort Mac for Keenan Ingram, and obviously getting DeGraves back, that really helps too. Just talk about the fact that your decor is just that little bit more experienced and older than it was maybe the first half of the year, and how much a difference that has made for your team.
Yeah, and I don't know the exact number, but Nathan DeGraves hasn't played a lot, and especially for the first 6 weeks of the season as well. And, those points are just as important as, these two games coming up, and not having Nathan DeGraves. And, you really want to make the case we didn't have Simon Diaz either. And that really changes your decor. And, ever since January 10th, with me running the back end, it's a lot easier to coach from the back end with those two guys. They're just a calming presence, obviously a lot of experience in junior hockey as well. But, with the glass half full as well, is that we've had a lot of young rookie defensemen play a lot of hockey for us. And, Russ Demos played the third amount of minutes as a Kindersley Klipper on the back end. And Ethan Hilbig and Kyler Smith have carried a huge load for us this year as well. And Austin Ashoey and Jacob Dennis and Luke Schrader have played a ton as well for us. So the experience that those guys have got, the actual junior games they were able to get with, Nathan and Simon not playing a lot for us, is something I'm thankful for as well. You can get into the playoffs and have that experience with your young defensemen. Something moving forward for those guys that I mentioned for the years to come is something they might not have gotten if we had Simon Diaz and a healthy Nathan DeGraves. So it all works out, and it's something that's going to be a hard decision for me in the playoffs, as I got 8 really good defensemen, but also moving forward a decor that can be really good for the years to come.
Hey, Clayton, just want to say congrats to yourself and your wife, Lindsay, on the birth of your daughter, Scotty. Love the name, by the way. It's been a month, I believe, right? January 10th it was?
Yeah, right around the trade deadline. So I don't recommend it to anyone. We got Scotty, and we got Brock Mueller and Simon Diaz. So we've made a lot of additions to the family.
Okay, so a personal question then. Just, it's been 2 months now since the birth of your daughter. How has it been balancing, being a father to a newborn and being a head coach of a junior A hockey team? I can't imagine, a lot of 10-hour sleep nights.
No, but, I got to give all the credit to my wife. She allows me to really focus on, the hockey family, and she's been carrying a pretty heavy load for the last 2 months. And, our daughter, who's a year and a half old, she's ripping around. So that's more of a duty. So that's me when I walk in the door, take over. And she's got a lot of my genes. She likes to stay busy and likes to be active and around everyone. So I'm getting my karma with her. But yeah, I thankfully, my family, and I married into a very good family as well. So we've had a lot of help, and Lindsay stayed back in her hometown for the first probably 2 or 3 weeks of the birth as well. So once again, took a little bit off of me, but yeah, she's been a rock star, that's for sure.
Yeah, the all-stars. They're the underrated all-stars for sure. And it's always a funny thing when you get better sleeps on a bus than you do with a newborn baby at home. I think that's generally a pretty common thing. But Clayton, one of your trade deadline acquisitions, you just mentioned them, but Brock Mueller from the Flin Flon Bombers. First of all, what attracted you about adding a player like Brock, and how impactful has he been for you guys since you got him?
Yeah, I think we would have done it anyways. But you lose Cash Arnston, a big part of this team, and it hurt our lineup, but it also hurt our dressing room, and it just hurt the community as well. So it's a guy that we targeted and really wanted to be the team to acquire Brock, and there's a lot of similarities there with Brock, and obviously going on a long championship run or playoff run, last year. Just having that experience to just tell the other players, this is how you need to play in the playoffs, and this is what the playoffs is about, and this is the grind of the playoffs, and this is what you need to do to take care of yourself. But, what he brings on and off the ice is just amazing. And it's I've been lucky enough to have him here for the 2 months, but, it's a guy that you wish you could have for a lot longer. And there's been a lot of players that we've brought in this year. Easton Inglis is another one that, he's a treat to coach. And those two playing together, they know each other from back in Calgary as well, and playing with the Calgary Canucks. So that was kind of a big reason why we brought Brock in, was that similarity that Easton could say what type of player he is and what type of human he is. And it just kind of all fell into place.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and a piece of having a Brock Mueller in is that he understands what it takes to believe in the group, because obviously that's the first step, right? You know better than me. You got to believe that you're a good team before you can be that. I want to talk about, with absolutely no disrespect meant to anybody or any situation before you came in, but when you maybe found the team, there might not have been that same belief that this was a good group of players that could win, that could pick up that green jersey and go on and beat anybody on a given night. I guess just talk about what's kind of gone into the intentionality around maybe the leadership group with Logan Linklater and Tylen Hilbig, et cetera, to infuse into this group, into the community, that this team is legitimate, that they're a playoff team, and that they won't be any fun to play against when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, we lost a lot of 1-goal games in 2023, and looking back as a coach, you wish you could have those points, but I think it made us better as a group as well. There was a lot of games we felt like we could have won, but we didn't have that winning mindset. And like I said, those games at the start of the year, it's all about culture, and you see why Flin Flon won as many games as they did in 2023. You look at Battleford last year; they didn't lose a game until January. I think it's just those automatic points that you can have because you have your culture set, your veterans that come back. They're automatic winners. But I think a big part of it too is last year Kindersley had a lot of injuries, and we've been lucky in that sense where there's been internal competition, where there's been hard decisions that I've had to make with Trapper about who's going to be in our lineup, and that makes your team a lot better. Kindersley was playing with 9 forwards and 4 or 5 defensemen end of the year last year, and it's a hard thing to do. There's nothing better than coaching with the ice time motivation. And having that internal competition amongst your teammates as well. So we've been very lucky in terms of that as well, just going down the stretch here and having a healthy lineup where we can choose from 13 forwards, 8 defensemen, and 3 goalies. So it's something that I'm thankful for, and hopefully that continues.
We'd be remiss if we didn't ask about your captain, Logan Linklater. Just what sort of full circle impact does a guy like that have? Not just his impact on the ice, but one of the nicest guys around, his leadership, his experience, obviously his play. Just how much of a delight has it been having him and what he brings to the team?
Yeah, and he's been the best captain I've had. Just he's honest and he's very comfortable with who he is, but he's very comfortable talking to me as well, and that's an important part for me. And like the Kindersley Klippers of learning to win is that Logan's career in general in junior hockey is that he's gone through it, and he's part of these 03s that went through the COVID stuff, and he played in the bubble in the WHL COVID, and that was tough for all those players, and it's made him stronger, it's made him better. And just the experience that he has just playing junior hockey just makes it a lot easier for our younger players as well. He's so easy to talk to, and someone that all of our younger players can really have those conversations with when they're going through it, when they're not feeling their best. So he's great. He's a great guy in terms of a leader, but also he's been through the tough times as well. So he can take those experiences and talk to the younger players and say, hey, I've been here. I've been out of the lineup. I've struggled producing points. And this is what I did. And this is how I had to overcome it. And there was some tough days. There was some tough weeks, but it's the teammates that Logan had previously that he relied on, and he had conversations with. And now he's that guy that players are looking up to and having those conversations as well. And he also makes time for those players. That's a big thing for me, is that there's no arrogance about him. He makes time for whoever it may be.
Yeah, for sure. Last question for me then, Jared. I always appreciate your time and chatting with you. I know you're the big brother, but obviously your little brother is having a wonderful professional career. I guess just kind of what have you been in touch with him about? What has he kind of taught you about maybe the next level and bringing that to your job? Obviously, I believe he's in the Calgary Flames organization right now, and just talk about how it's going with him and trying to keep track with his career too, and what he's kind of taught you from that level too.
Yeah, and they obviously the NHL and the AHL just went through the trade deadline, so he had to get through that, and it wears on everyone mentally. And I mean, for him, he's battling to get in the lineup and stay in the lineup. So it was more of how many defensemen are the Flames and the Wranglers bringing in, and trying not to think about that too much and just worry about himself. And that's taken him a long time to figure out, and something that he has figured out now is that he can only control what he can control, and whatever the organization is going to do he can't control that. So it took a little bit of weight off his shoulders this year in terms of that. But at the end of the day, the big thing that he's realized, because he's played on a ton of hockey teams, is that being a teammate's number one. And everywhere that he has gone, he's won 2 ECHL championships, and he's won an AHL championship. And it was 3 years in a row that he did that. And I think a big part of that is because how much he brings to the dressing room and how great of a teammate that he really is. And it's why he has the opportunity that he has this year. You don't see a guy that played in the ECHL and then goes and plays in England and all of a sudden is back in the AHL. I think it's usually the other way. You go East Coast, you go England, and then your career's pretty much done. So it just really shows how much being a great teammate, being a good professional, and being a good human being goes into professional hockey. And those coaches and those teammates want you around. So I think that's a big part of it. Is he's a 30-year-old defenseman with a lot of young defensemen within the Wranglers organization that he can kind of be that fourth assistant coach to those guys and have a positive attitude and show them how to be a great pro. So those are the big thing that he's taught me, but also I can tell my players is that, this is why he's been in the league for this long and won this many championships at the pro level, which not a lot of players get to do.
All right, rapid fire time, Clayton. Winning an SJHL championship or the birth of your daughter? More exciting.
Come on.
I'm joking. You don't have to answer
that. You can answer it. Don't let him off the hook.
Here's the cop out answer. I've never won an SJ championship, so I don't know how it feels. So
there you go.
All right, I got one in similar lines though. Coaching a PK or changing a diaper? What's harder?
Oh, definitely coaching a PK, 100%. Yeah. That's why Trapper does it and I don't do it.
What Kindersley Klipper player would you first enter into a triathlon? Just a guy with a nonstop motor that can, 60 minutes, doesn't matter if he plays all 60 minutes, never stops.
Easton Ingles is the one I'd say right away, but there is a lot of them, but he gets knocked down and he gets right back up. So he's a true warrior, but yeah, there are a lot of other guys too.
If you were hosting a Kindersley Klipper family Christmas party, which set of brothers or twins would more likely start a food fight? The Perlingers or the Hilbigs?
Oh, the Perlingers 100% because that's what they would want to do. I mean, if you told the Hilbigs to do it, they'd do it, but the Perlingers would show up to the party wanting to start.
Do you have a secret to telling them apart? Like, is there something that you're able to know? Which one's Cam?
Well, on the ice, it's easy the way that they shoot, and Cam had longer hair to start the year, so that helped me out. But besides that, no, because when they get pissed off at each other, they're just as mad as the other one is. So that's apart. But yeah, I'd say the hair and the way they shot helped me out at the start of the year.
I'm good.
You're done? Yeah. All right, that was rapid fire for Rory. That was awesome. And I was going to say the best feeling would be to have the baby sitting in the Cantera Cup at the end of the season. So maybe that was the cop-out answer. But anyways, yes. Clayton, good luck with your last couple games against Battlefords this week, and obviously going into the playoffs. And we'll talk to you again down the line.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Clayton Jardine, head coach and general manager of the Kindersley Klippers. He's kind of the magic beans guy for Kindersley. Just bring him in, you'll make the playoffs. Yeah. It seems like the way to go. When we come back, we're going to take one more break. We got Players of the Week coming up, our all underrated rosters. are also coming up, and we'll just have a look at the upcoming games this week as we do enter the final week of the regular season. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers, and that's a big reason why we exist, and what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things, and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA, and respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Had a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Lights and waterways. Saskatchewan.
All right, segment 3 coming in hot for SJHL Weekly. I'm Clark Munroe from ICAST Media, of course. We got Rory McGouran and Jamie Neugebauer with us. And we have the Players of the Week now. The article is live over on SJHL.ca and on all our social media channels. Nugsy definitely wasn't freaking out about one of our social media channels during the commercial break. That didn't happen, right, Nugsy? And we're going to get into it now. And speaking of Nugsy, you're going to start it off, Nugsy. Our SGEU MVP of the week, Bradley Bannock from the Melville Millionaires. This guy lit up the scoreboard. Nugsy said his name a bunch of times on Tuesday night. 5 goals in 3 games as the Melville Millionaires cruise to a few big wins this week, Nugsy.
Yeah, it kills me to give credit to a St. Mike's kid as a guy who worked for North York for all those years. I'm just kidding.
No, you're
Bradley
not.
Bannock was he was terrific. He's been terrific since acquired from the Weyburn Red Wings at the trade deadline. What a piece of business that was by Doug Johnson. Wow, what a great pickup. Yeah, you said it, 4 goals. He had never had a multi-goal game in the SJHL before scoring 4 in one game, so that's not bad. And then he scored again the next night. Not too bad. He's been a great piece for the Melville Millionaires.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I will say it again, but Junior A hockey is the land of opportunities, and if you get an opportunity and you can take advantage of it, it leads to awesome things, and I think Bradley Bannock is a great example of that. Let's get into the SaskTel goalie of the week. Do we know? Do I even have to say? This guy's just racking up wins recently. William Dyke from the Melville Millionaires. This guy, like you said, he has more shutouts than goals allowed lately. Unbelievable performances from this guy, and he again is leading Melville, Rory, to a huge stretch of games.
Yeah, I feel so good for Will. Of course, I know him from being the short time with the Humboldt Broncos. He's worked hard to get where he is today, and now he's getting rewarded for it. A backdoor cover to now lead the SJHL in shutouts. 5 shutouts on the year. No one has 5 yet other than William Dyke. And 3 shutouts in his last 5 games, 2 goals against in his last 5 games. Absolutely wild. He's playing some stellar hockey.
Crazy, crazy stuff right now, putting up video game numbers in Melville. The Borgo forward of the week, and this guy has won this a couple times this year. Kean Bell of the Battlefords North Stars. He had a couple of big games, one particularly big one, but he really helped Battlefords to a couple of wins this week.
Yeah, 2 goals and 3 assists in that win there at the EPA, the Elgar Peterson Arena. I said it during the recap, when Battlefords needs a superhero, what do? They put the cape on Kean Bell, and he says, let's see what I can do. 93 points now, 2 fellas. Is he going to hit the 100 mark? That would be impressive, given that they've got 2 games against Kindersley.
He's got to repeat the exact same thing.
Yeah,
7 points in 2 games.
So. Exactly. But never say to Kean, you can't do something.
Wait, hold on. Kean, you can't do it.
You just helped him out. There you go.
Sorry, Clayton. Sorry,
Good
Clayton.
thing we talked to Clayton before, and then we're doing the segment.
Sorry, Clayton.
So who's getting the SJHL Weekly bump then?
Ooh.
Is it now Kindersley or is it Battlefords?
We'll have to find out, and then take credit no matter what.
That's right.
Time will tell. The Super U defenseman of the week. We're staying with the Battlefords North Stars, and it is Tanner Gold. He hasn't won one in a while, but he's been having a great season, almost a point per game. I think he's 5th in defensive scoring. Rory, Tanner Gold.
Yeah, he moved into the top 5 in defensive scoring with this weekend that he's had. I just really love his mentorship, right? You strap a C on a guy, and then you pair him with an 06 defenseman in Carson Olsen, and he's just been a dynamite mentor for that young blue liner all year. But I don't think Battlefords was happy with their game defensively in Game 1. They were really good in Game 2. I know you look at the score and it's 7-4, but it was 5-0 at one point, and Battlefords wasn't giving Humboldt anything. Yeah. Tanner Gold was a big reason why, and he also chipped in 5 points offensively. But yeah, I just love his mentorship.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Carson Olsen, nominee for Rookie of the Year. So shout out to Tanner Gold. The Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week. There was probably 5 good candidates for this one this week. There was a lot, but we actually went back to the crease and Saskatoon's James Van Nugsy. James Van.
Yeah, I mean, he's won 9 games in a row. The Mustangs have won 9 games in a row. He does not give up more than 2 or 3 goals pretty much every game that he plays in, and so you better not give up goals to the Melfort Mustangs. That's the way it is. Their decor is too good, and James Venn's too good behind them. He's played 135 more minutes, as I said, more than any other goal in the league, but he does not look tired. And certainly he's a great candidate. He's up for MVP of the league and goalie of the league. Could he win either or both? It seems possible to me. He's been that good. And yeah, well-deserved, and good to see a kid from Saskatoon do so well too.
Absolutely. And we're going to wrap it up with the Direct West Rookie of the Week, and we'll go back to the Melville Millionaires. They have a few award winners this week after a really good week for them. Luke Beadall of the Melville Millionaires. Rory.
Yeah, I love this player, right? He's still young, 2005 birth year. He's listed at 6'1", right? He almost kind of seems bigger than that. The way he skates, the way he uses his reach. He's rangy, right? Kind of deceptive with his skating. And all of a sudden, he looks like one of the fastest players in the league, right? So a couple good first strides, really good with his reach, great shot. And fun fact, he's actually the highest scoring 2005 birth year in the league. Is Luke Beadall. He's been spectacular.
And we were ready to hand Travis Bryson, the rookie points leader,
No, Beadle's got
not
something
anymore.
to say about
He's
it.
got one more goal now. He's got only 5 points back of Bryson.
Yeah, Bryson's missed the last 2 games to injury as well. So if he
opens the door.
Or illness it was. So if he continues to miss next weekend, that's going to be a big chance for Beadle.
Hey, Luke Beadle, you can't do it.
There you go.
Here we go. We're just helping everybody out.
Billboard
So there you go. That's the players of the week, of course, for this week. Again, some great performances. A lot of guys probably could have won some of these awards as well. A lot of good performances around the league. You can check out the full article over on sjhl.ca if you want to check it out. But let's get to this is the fun one now. We sent in our rosters this weekend for the all underrated teams. We each made our own roster, so a lot of names are going to be duplicated, but a lot of them are actually, there's some really unique names on these lists. So let's start it off. We're going to start with Rory's.
Sure.
Rory's starting it off. So I guess let's just go through the rosters and I guess talk about some guys if you want to, point some guys out.
Yeah, so I had just 2 criteria. I mean, I tried to keep it 2 criteria. This was actually harder for me to build than it was an all-star team. But guys who fit in a specific role that maybe doesn't get highlighted as much as, a 70-point guy. Also players who are overshadowed by someone else on their team.
Right.
That's why you're like, well, how is Hutchinson underrated? He's 3rd place in the league scoring. I was like, well, when we talk about Melfort, we often talk about Zach Summers, Ryan Duguay, James Venn, Chase Friedmore. Hutchinson sometimes gets lost in that fold. So I put him on my team. Jordan Grill might be one of the fastest skaters in the league. If you need him to play defense, he can. If you need him to play forward, he can. He was on the top line this weekend. I'm a huge Jordan Grill fan. And then I'm a man of the people, guys. I'm a man of the people, Nugsy. So Dawson Carroll, when you look at our post that we put out, I think there was 19 people that commented and said Dawson Carroll needs to be on the team. So you know what? I make the Flin Flon Bombers happy. And I'll throw Dawson Carroll on there, who I think is very effective in a bottom 6 grinder role, physical, fast skater. Easton Ingles, one of the best face-off men. Chase Cook, one of the best defensive defensemen in the SJHL. And then Jamin and Churko wrapping it up in net. Don't want to take too much time, but that's kind of where my mindset was.
Put a good wrap on that one. Yeah. Let's go to Nugsy's team here. Now, he cheated. I'm just going to start. Nugsy cheated and added a 13th forward.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
And we'll probably have some controversy around one of the names.
I want to find out the mindset and the reasoning behind this name.
So look, Harmon Laserhume has wonderful stats. I've never once ever said his stats aren't amazing because you'd be nuts not to. But to
I
play,
can confirm that. I haven't heard you say that.
Right. To play behind a super team, quote unquote, it's hard to get credit. It's hard for people to say Flin Flon is where they are because of Harmon Laserhume. Now, he's a piece of it, absolutely. But he's actually, watching him closely, I've learned to love him. I think he's really, really good. I think he's a D1 caliber goalie, and I don't know that many people say that. Some people have said coming into the year, Flin Flon's Achilles heel might be their goaltending. Well, I'm saying Harmon Laserhume is better than all that. I'm saying now he's underrated. So there you go. However much you rate him, again, stats are stats, and I get it, they have a place, but Harmon is better than just a goalie behind a great team. That's all I'm saying about
I love your reasoning. It does make sense of now that you encapsulate that, but I do find it very funny that the goaltender favorite for goalie of the year, who you left off your all-star team, you put on your underrated team. I like the reason.
But can you put my
That's how underrated he was.
So
he
I can
didn't
talk
even
about somebody other than Harmon Laserhume.
Sure.
So there you go. I mean, we had some similar names. Obviously, Jackson Ruthven, Maddox Amaral. I think I thought about 2 things. I tried to really focus on guys who squeeze like every drop of performance and production that they can out of the player they have, the role that they have. It's kind of similar to what you were saying, I guess. A lot of guys that can win faceoffs. I think my team won't lose any faceoffs. You can switch Amaral and Lantier. They'll both win faceoffs. Jackson Allen, Leighton Sheeran, they're both money on the dot. Marko Djordjevic and Easton Ingles are both money on the dot. So you kind of go down the list. Caden Drury's a terrific faceoff man. So it's kind of guys who are great in their roles. Caden Drury, by the way, folks. We talk about Luke Beadle, we talk about Bradley Bidock. Who's leading the Melville Millionaires in points right now? It's Caden Drury.
Member of Team Clark's fantasy team, by the way.
Gabe Filion, you talk about Grill being as fast as anybody. He might be the fastest kid in the league, Gabe Filion. And to me, the most underrated player in the whole league. Nobody talks about him because he's on the 12th place team, but I watch him day in, day out. It's Liam Hunks. Man, that kid is terrific in all 3 zones. He's a great rusher. He's got beautiful edges, great leader. A really, really, really big fan of him. But yeah, I mean, I think, there's some great options all over the place. Nick Kovacs, I think all three of us kind of had to, and Matt Chemis, on that sort of workman-like, everybody's decent, everybody's good in the Melville decor. But Chemis, I think, is the one that gets really overlooked. And yeah, Tyson Endall, my buddy with the big mustache there, is a big boy in Nipawin.
Yes.
And he's actually gotten some big starts lately for Nipawin down the stretch as they were trying to stay alive. Yeah. He actually did get some of those starts. So there you go. Finley Radloff was a popular answer too, and I asked who was underrated. So there you go.
And Tyson Endall is going to be the starting goaltender for the all-mustache team. We just haven't made that roster yet.
He and Sleva are the two all-mustache heroes.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
When we do right after the awards ceremony for the year-end awards, they're going to do the all-mustache.
Yeah.
Let's put up my roster now, and I'll go through a few of those names. I put Logan Belton on there. Jaron Denway was on all of our rosters. Maddox Amaral was on all of our rosters. I went with the three names that neither of you guys had: Bradley Blake, Riley Giroux, and Zach Burfoot on that second line. They're not really lines; they're just players in those positions. But I really like the Battlefords guys, kind of as those veteran grinders. I like those guys, and I think they would be a big reason that the North Stars could have a big long run this year. Just guys like that. I really like Alex Bernauer. I love Artem Hrabovetsky, and I think he's put up some big numbers for Nipawin this year. Big Brock Mueller guy. Jeff Hammond having a really underrated year in Yorkton as well, and I think people don't talk about him enough. We had Jordan Grill. I had him as a defenseman though, Rory. You had him as a forward. And that's the best part about him, and I think that's why he deserves to be on a list like this, is because he can play anywhere you need him, and he's going to do the job for you. I put Quinton Unreiner on there, and the reason I put him is because he's actually leading the league in games played. And I just thought that was a really interesting little tidbit. Him and actually Kyler Smith from Kindersley were leading the league in games played. Peyton Kostishin, I don't think gets talked about enough. Big, strong guy. But when we talked to Doug Johnson, he had nothing but good things to say. I went with Topher Chirico, and Jackson Miller was my other goalie.
Strong.
The reason for that, Nugsy, you kind of mentioned it earlier with James Venn. Topher Chirico is that goalie that's behind him in games played. He's just a workhorse there as well. And Jackson Miller has stepped up with the absence of Cam Hrdlicka and Estevan, and just kind of played as much as they've needed him to play, and I think if you ask Jason Tatarnik, he would like to buy Jackson Miller a coffee at some point, because I think he's gotten him out of some jams with Cam Hrdlicka, who a guy we all thought, I think before the season, we would all say that Cam Hrdlicka had a really good chance of being the goalie of the year this year, coming into the year, and he's had just unfortunate year with health issues and injury issues. So Jackson Miller, that's why I put him on the list. So I think, maybe his numbers aren't, spectacularly crazy through the roof, but I think he's played a huge role for Estevan.
Topher Chirico's faced like 400 more shots than the next closest goaltender, and he's had a .908 save percentage. Chirico, I know Laurent had a struggling year, but this guy's just been great. Like, you faced 1,800 shots in 44 games. It averages over 40 per game. It's crazy.
He had a rough start.
He had a rough start, too, but that even says more that he's had a .908 save percentage with that rough start.
Absolutely.
There's a reason he was on both of our lists, and maybe should have been on Nugsy's, but he put Harman Laserhume on his.
I like that list, too.
Yeah, that's okay. I like the explanation. Let's have a look at the upcoming games, at least for the next couple of days here. We'll start with Tuesday's matchups. We got Nipawin facing Melville and Humboldt facing Notre Dame, which I think I'm going to be joining you guys at that game, by the way.
Nice.
I think I'm going to pop over for that one. So that should be good. I'm available.
You're welcome.
I'm available. I'll have my throat lozenges in case anybody needs them. Weyburn plays Notre Dame on Wednesday.
Notre Dame's last game of
the year. So that's the upcoming couple of days, but there are a couple of big games coming up on the weekend, guys. I guess it doesn't have to be those ones, but what are you keeping an eye on most this week? Is it the battle for third? Is it the battle for 6th to 8th? Is it the final games of the year for everybody? Like, what kind of has your attention?
It's both, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm paying a little bit closer attention to the battle for third, just because the team I broadcast for is in that mix. But, I mean, Weyburn and Estevan, right? How good is that to wrap it up?
Great.
Weyburn's won all 4 games so far. They already took the rivalry, the championship that they have between that highway rivalry. But Estevan doesn't, they don't want to limp into the playoffs.
Definitely not against Weyburn.
They don't want to lose against Weyburn. I'm assuming they don't want to play Flin Flon, right? So there's a lot riding on that game between Weyburn and Estevan, and that's a huge weekend between them.
Yeah, and I think, people say, Battleford's is in third, Kindersley is, trying to stay out of 8. Is that a mismatch? Will Battleford's just take both? No way. Like, Battleford's is not playing great hockey. The Kindersley Klippers are playing good hockey. They haven't played
long
in a
break,
long time.
break.
So, and some teams can say that's a good thing. This time of year, it's busy. You don't have time to practice. You don't have time to get guys healthy. Your system should be in place now anyways. I think more Clayton Jardine's happy about the rest and the time to practice. I think that's huge for the Clippers. Man, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen in that Battleford's Kindersley.
The start is imperative. If they're not up to game speed, and we know how good Battleford is playing with the lead, that start for Kindersley is going to be huge.
It's going to be an interesting
1.
weekend,
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll mention about the upcoming weekend is it's the SaskTel Game of the Month on Friday. Yorkton at Melville. So that's the final SaskTel Game of the Month broadcast, and you guys will both be involved in that. So good luck there. But that's kind of it. That's it for the show. Jam-packed. We fit a lot into that one.
Strong show.
Yes. If you can't get out to the rinks, which I'm in, it's the last weekend. So get out to the rinks if you can. That's your last chance for the regular season. But follow along on Flow Hockey. Get your subscription now. I said this a couple weeks ago, I think. But the best time to get your Flow Hockey subscription was at the beginning of the season. The second best time is right now, before the playoffs start. So get it now. Otherwise, follow along on our SJHL Facebook page. Twitter, which what did you call it? X, and the app for everything.
I think they refer to themselves as the Everything app.
Yeah, I can't keep up with this. Twitter, Elon, slow down, okay? Slow down. You're changing everything too fast. Instagram or TikTok as well, and we will be posting all the highlights on YouTube throughout the week. So if you miss anything and you want to check out some of the goals or the best plays, check out our YouTube channel. You might be watching it right now on YouTube. Big thank you to our sponsors. UPL, of course, again, our big presenting sponsor of the show. Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Capital Automall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, SGU, and SGI. Again, huge thank you to all of those sponsors. Keeps us going. But next week, as we mentioned earlier in the show, it's our big playoff preview and awards show. So there's going to be a lot going on in that one. A ton of interesting information. We'll break down all of the series because we'll know by then, obviously. We will. Oh, the zoo. Yes, I would love to get to the zoo. I haven't been there in a few years, so I would love to get up there for the playoffs.
That is Ledge Weber. He's their Zamboni driver.
There you go.
He's a diehard Flin Flon fan. Always gets the crowd pumped up, waving the hat.
Who says we don't talk about the Bombers enough?
He says we don't talk about them enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, Harmon Laserhume is underrated, so. Right, guys?
You know what? I'm trying to entertain and edutain the people out there.
Ledge, if you can give me a ride on the Zamboni, I will make my way up to Flin Flon. I've never had to ride on the Zamboni. But big show. Again, we're going to break down the series. Game by game, matchup by matchup, player by player, coach by coach, Zamboni driver by Zamboni driver. And we're also going to announce all the award winners as well. So big show, lots going on Wednesday, March 20th next week. Again, no Monday broadcast, no Thursday broadcast next week. Next week, only Wednesday at 1 p.m. Sask time. Note the start time because the time has changed. Flin Flon, you're not the same time as us anymore. That changed.
Yeah.
So 2 p.m. your time, 1 p.m. for everybody else. But that'll do it for me, Clark Munroe, from IKS, and everybody in the back, Rory McGouran, Jamie Neugebauer. It's another show of SJHL Weekly, and we'll see you again next week. Get to the rinks. See the games.